This podcast is sponsored by Great White Hot Sauce. It's a small batch, handmade hot sauce made especially for you. You can find it at www.trygreatwhite.com. It's also sponsored by South Florida Allied Health, located in Boca Raton, Florida, specializing in men's health, women's health, medical weight loss, IV therapy infusion, testosterone therapy, and hormone replacement therapy. Florida residents only.
Well, here we are, episode 103. And on this episode, what rhymes with three? Me. That's right, it's all about me. Solo show. I don't need Jack. I don't need Mark Smith. I don't need Lou Colicchio. Well, all right, I'm getting a little carried away there, but you know what I mean. I can carry a show by myself. I've done it before, I'll do it again, and I'm doing it tonight. Music news. That's what I'm talking about, music news. Let's see what's going on in the news. Plus, that's a primer for my new podcast that I'm getting set up. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the news.
The KOFB studio presents Milk Crates and Turntables, a music discussion podcast hosted by Scott McLean. Now, let's talk music. Enjoy the show.
Thank you, Amanda, for that wonderful introduction as always. Welcome to the podcast. You know the name, I'm not going to say it. We're streaming live right now over 2 pages on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, D Live, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, tonight is kind of a pop-up show. We usually do our shows on Wednesday nights. We do this podcast. It's a live stream. So is it a show? Is it a podcast? It's a podcast with a live stream. I guess it's a show. I don't know. And I kind of had a conflict last night with the scheduling, and so I couldn't really do it. It would have been a rush job. So we were going to do it tonight, and Lou has rehearsal with his band, and Mark Smith is, I don't know, shopping for new wines or whatever he does with his wines. What does he drink? Like rabbit ear wine, or it's yellow dove wine or something. He's all about that wine. So maybe that's what he's doing. I don't know. And while Jack is Jack, do I need to say any more about that? No, Jack is Jack. So it's me doing a solo show. Haven't done one of these in a while, but I can do it. No problems. And I decided I'm just going to go with some music news since I'm setting up for another podcast called Music News. And those are going to be much shorter than these podcasts. Although tonight, myself, I don't think I'll be doing a 2.5 hour, 3 hour podcast by myself. I don't even want to challenge myself like that. So here we go. Right off the bat, my friend, Andy Mura. Andy Mura. He's an Aussie. Yeah. He's a Brogan. He just commented in right off the bat, more whining, I presume. The British also use it. So he spells whining a little different. They winging in Australia. They call it winging. I don't know. Anyways, Andy's a good dude. Me and Andy met actually on a Smith's Facebook group. He was quite the agitator. I give him that. He pushed a lot of buttons. But you know what? We went back and forth. And I said, I kind of like this dude. He's pretty funny. And we went on and on, back and forth. And next thing you know, we became friends. We became friends over through the Facebook group. And we did some FaceTimes during the pandemic. Dun, 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 dun. And we communicate all the time through Facebook. Someday we will meet face to face. It would probably be me going to Australia because I'd love to go to Australia. He's already been in the States. He was a medevac nurse up in the Tampa area, I believe, Tampa, Orlando area. So he was in the shit, as they say. But yeah, Andy's a good dude. Good dude. He's a Brogan. That's an inside joke. See, Andy, I can say that. You have no reply. You can only type it. Anyways. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway. I'm not supposed to say the S at the end is wrong, according to Jack. So I will do my best to say anyway. And let me see. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some music news. Like I said, I'm setting up a new podcast and that. So I figured tonight's a pop-up show. I have a big iced double espresso with milk. So I'm going to be jacked up, as they say, as I take a drink of it. And we'll start off with this shit's kind of funny. There's this ongoing battle between Ace Frehley and Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons from Kiss. It's like never ending. So this article came through on, let me see, what is it? Yeah. VCR, Classic Rock and Culture website. The headline is Ace Frehley got a big, where did it go? I lost it. Where was the headline? What the fuck? This isn't a good way to start off, is it? No. I guess the headline is Ace Frehley got a big fuck you from Paul Stanley. So it starts off, Ace Frehley said he heard from Paul Stanley shortly after demanding an apology from his former Kiss bandmate last week. But all he received was a fuck you during a 5-second phone call. So Ace Frehley actually gave up all his rights to his image, the star man. No, he was the space child, something like that. With Kiss, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons bought it from him. They bought the cat image from Peter Criss. So they basically signed off anything that any rights they had to anything with Kiss. So it says, as promised last week, Ace Frehley returned to Eddie Trunk's Trunk Nation to offer an update on his ongoing war of words with Stanley and Gene Simmons. The spaceman previously threatened to air some dirt on his ex-colleagues if Stanley did not apologize within a week for the disparaging remarks he made during a recent Howard Stern interview. When asked if Stanley contacted him, Frehley said yes, he did, not long after the show was over. I was blindsided by the phone call, but instead of an apology, I got a 5-second phone call which said, fuck you, Ace. I'm not going to apologize, and hung up. He wasn't even man enough to let me give a rebuttal and explain why I'm so upset or anything like that. Frehley said he has been in touch with Kiss manager Doc McGee, quote, at least 3 or 4 times since the phone call. Quote, I told Doc McGee this whole story, And you know what he came back with? He said, Paul said he never called you. The guitarist also sent screenshots of his phone call log to Trunk to confirm the conversation took place, which Trunk verified. Despite not receiving his apology, Frehley opted not to air any dirt on his former bandmates after all. He said, quote, I spoke to several good friends of mine who are God-fearing people and I go to AA meetings with, and they said, don't ever sink to their level. That's what they do. That's what they've been doing for years. Why are you going to sink to their level? Frehley said. So then I came to the realization that I don't even have to bring up anything that I have hidden away in my attorney's. Okay. So then I came to the realization that I don't even have to bring up anything that I have hidden away in my attorney's safety deposit box. So, all right. So this dude has some shit on Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. Shit to the extent of he puts it in his attorney's safety deposit box. That's got to be a video. It has got to be a video or a cassette, an audio recording. Because what else are you going to put in there? I mean, this is supposedly some heavy duty shit. So he has it in his attorney safety deposit box. Yikes. He said, I can just talk about things that they've said about me in black and white. They can't come after me after that because they said it. It's in black and white. Frehley's current feud with his ex-bandmates erupted last month when Kiss appeared on the Howard Stern show. When the radio veteran asked why Stanley and Simmons refused to play alongside fellow founding members Frehley and Peter Criss at the band's 2014 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, Stanley replied, because if you saw people on stage who looked like Kiss but sounded like that, maybe we should be called Piss. Yikes. Frehley responded to these comments during last week's Trunk Nation appearance and reiterated many of his points during today's follow-up call. Those guys have been bad-mouthing me since I quit the very first time in 1981, 1982. Said, calling me a drug addict, calling me an alcoholic, saying I'm unemployable, I'm undependable. The guitarist additionally noted that he's maintained a multi-decade solo career. Really? Really? Ace? Okay, I mean, I guess if you call putting out records a solo career, then there's a lot of people putting out records today. But, okay. So he additionally noted he's maintained a multi-decade solo career, has been sober for nearly 20 years, God bless him for that, and has released more new music in that time than his old band. He then issued an ultimatum to Stanley. Now, again, he's put out more music than Kiss. I am not a Kiss fan. I saw them live back in the day when when they were in their prime, and great show, great concert, God of Thunder and the Blood, and all the pyrotechnics. Great show. But I grew out of Kiss. Kiss is one of those bands. Majority of us grow out of it. There's the hardcore Kiss heads and God bless them too. Hey, listen, it's just not my cup of tea anymore. So he then issued an ultimatum to Stanley. Quote, I'm going to make a statement to Paul Stanley right now. I'm telling you that I want a formal apology for what you said and a retraction and an apology within 7 days. This article is, it's probably a month old. And if I don't get that within 7 days, I'm coming back on Ed Trunk's show, if you'll have me, Ed, and I'm going to tell some dirt that nobody knows about Paul and Gene, that I've always kept to myself because I'm the kind of guy who doesn't talk about this. I like to talk about positive stuff. Well, whatever that means. Frehley added that he's written a 120-page manuscript detailing Stanley and Simmons' alleged indiscretions. So that's what it is. It's a manuscript. Quote, my attorney has it in his safety deposit box. God forbid. Oh, see, now this is where you starts to get a little over the top. Little over the top here, Ace. God forbid anything happens to me. My attorney is instructed to release it to the New York Times, Rolling Stone. Does anybody read Rolling Stone anymore other than Mark Smith? API, everybody. So they can't intimidate me with trying to hurt me or saying, you better not say anything about me live on the radio, because then they're totally screwed. Their careers will be ruined. Those guys aren't squeaky clean. You know how many lawsuits girls have had against Gene? So there you go, you fucking rat. You fucking rat bastard. God. Ace Frehley is a rat bastard. Oh, I'm not going to talk. But you know how many lawsuits girls had against Gene Simmons? You rat bastard. I hope they crush you like the bug you are. Man up. Man, you know, some of these musicians, they come off like, you know, they're all these rock and roll guys, all big and tough. A lot of them are pussies. They're pussies. Look at this. Those guys, if something should happen to me, it's like what are you dealing with? The cartel, a Mexican cartel? No. It's fucking 79-year-old Gene Simmons and 78-year-old fucking Paul Stanley. Like, come on. And this 76, 77, whatever they are. This is crazy. This is crazy. So then it says, despite their ongoing feud, Frehley reiterated during his latest Trunk Nation call that he could still be convinced to join his ex-bandmates on stage. This guy is out of his fucking mind. He's out of his mind. After all he just said, and he throws it out there about the lawsuits against Gene Simmons from girls. And that he hates them and they owe me an apology. But I'll go play with them if they want me to. Oh, and for a price. He says, this is unbelievable. See, I kind of skim through these. I don't study them, and that's why sometimes you'll hear I'll make a mistake reading it, because I like to get these with the organic reactions. Again, despite their ongoing feud, Frehley reiterated during his latest Trunk Nation call that he could still be convinced to join his ex-bandmates on stage at Kiss's final shows at New York's Madison Square Garden this December for a price. Yeah, okay. Money motivates me, just like it motivates them, he said. Look, if I got $250,000 a night for the final two shows, and I can make $500,000 for playing 3 or 4 songs, 5 songs, I'd take the money. What fucking planet does this dude live on? Space Child is right. Because this dude, he's making it sound like they're begging him to come, and he has leverage. He's got leverage. If you pay me $250,000 a show for 2 shows, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it, guys. Although you hate my fucking guts, and you told me I'm a pissy guitar player, and you insulted me on a worldwide show, Howard Stern show. It's pretty much worldwide. Talk about a fucking rat bastard schmuck Howard Stern is. Anyways, sellout punk ass. He's playing this like, oh yeah, if you want to pay me, I'll think about it. I'll take $250,000 a night for 2 nights. I'll play, I don't know, maybe I'll play 3, 4, 5 songs. How's that? You know, sure, guys, I'll do it. Like they're begging him. This dude does not have what they say a snowball's chance in hell to play with them, especially after all this shit. Threatening them with his 120-page manuscript that he has in his attorney's safety deposit box. God forbid anything should happen to me. Ah, Jesus. So that's that story. Tell you what, man. A lot of these guys live in their own fucking private Idaho. They certainly do. And I think Ace Frehley is one of them, that rat bastard. That's double espresso time. The ice jingling. Jingling, baby. All right, this article is a little disturbing. It's a lot disturbing. And it just goes to show. It just goes to show that we put these fucking people up on a pedestal, right? A pedestal. And they're icons and they're rock gods, they're this and they're that. And we build up this big cocoon around them of immortality and legends and rock and roll Hall of Famers. And, I met this guy, I saw them. And then you read a story like this and you really get a good look at what you idolize, or we per se. So this one came from Rolling Stone. Let's see. This is from last month. Title is, you go to these websites and they fucking hit you with all this spam. That. Drop that down. All right, the title of the article is Steven Tyler's teen assault defense is fucking insane, legal experts say. They don't write the whole word. It's F-K-C-K-I-N-G, but I say it. Fucking insane. And it is. So it starts off. This is a cringy article. Very cringy article. So sit back for this one. So 3 months after first being accused of sexual assault of a minor in a lawsuit last December, Steven Tyler finally responded to the claims last week, denying all the allegations and requesting for the case to be dismissed. As Rolling Stone first reported in December, Julia Misley alleged in her suit that Tyler sexually assaulted and battered her in the 1970s, starting when she was 16. She claimed Tyler convinced her mother to grant him guardianship over her and that they were together for about 3 years. He was in his 20s. He was like, 24, 25. She referenced Tyler's own, and see, this idiot, this moron. But I'm glad he said it. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad he said this. I'm not glad, but I'm glad. You'll see what I mean. She referenced Tyler's own 2011 memoir, in which he wrote that he, quote, almost took a teen bride, and that the girl's parents, quote, signed a paper over for me to have custody so I wouldn't get arrested if I took her out of state. Tyler also wrote that, quote, she was 16, she knew how to nasty, and there wasn't a hair on it. Let that sink in. He put this in his fucking memoirs. Think of that. The great Steven Tyler. Everybody loves Steven Tyler. Bad Boys from Boston. Great career, right? He basically, I'm not going to say it. I'll get knocked off of YouTube by certain words you can't say. Grape. Maybe I could say grape. Yeah. Won't get in trouble for that. Again, he wrote that, quote, she was 16, she knew how to nasty, and there wasn't a hair on it. This motherfucker. Really? You're bragging about that? You piece of shit. You're bragging about that? The great Steven Tyler. So let me ask you, fans out there of Steven Tyler, how do you feel about him now? Do you forgive somebody like that? Do you say, he was only 27, 24, 25, he was young, but he knew she was 16? So something wrong with that. At least to me. Okay? Let me go on. This is uncomfortable for me to read because I really fucking don't. I really don't like this dude now. Creepy mother. I still like the music. Don't get me wrong. You can't start hating music that you loved your whole life, but I don't have to like this guy. The suit further alleges that Tyler convinced Misley to get an abortion when she was 17 after she was hospitalized following an apartment fire. Writing about the experience decades later opened her up to involuntary infamy, Misley alleged, which is true. Barry Dedovich, the AI, the brains behind Music Relish Show. I think it's Music Relish Show now. He says, who do you think you are, Gene Simmons or something? Barry's the man. Barry's the man. So, yeah, writing about the experience decades later opened her up to involuntary infamy, Misley alleged. Now, this is where it gets really, this is where the title of this article comes into play. Once again, let me remind you what the title of the article is. Steven Tyler's teen assault defense is, quote, fucking insane, legal experts say. So this is where we get into that. Let's see. All right. The Aerosmith singer responded last week with 24 affirmative defenses, from denying that plaintiff Julia Misley suffered any damages to alleging that Misley, quote, failed to mitigate any alleged damages herself prior to filing suit. He didn't deny that he'd had sex with Misley, and most notably, Tyler alleged in his response that Misley, who was 16 while he was 25 at the time of the allegations, consented to the sexual relationship, and that her claims were barred, quote, because of immunity to defendant as caretaker guardian. Think of this one before I go on. One of his defenses is immunity to defendant as caretaker guardian. So in other words, she can't charge me with grape, because I was her guardian. Are you kidding me? So now let me ask you the question again. How much do you like Steven Tyler now? How much do you like him now? He's saying he should get immunity to defendant because he was the caretaker. He's a defendant. He should get immunity because he was the caretaker. He was her guardian. So she can't accuse me of grape because I was her guardian. Yeah, I had SEX with her. Yeah. Again, I have to watch YouTube. They'll cut me down if they get the algorithm. Yeah, I had SEX with her when she was 16. I was 25. So what? So what? I was her guardian. This is what this Nimrod is saying. This piece of garbage. How dare you You, punk ass little bitch. Oh. Those latter claims are drawing scrutiny and have perplexed several attorneys who reviewed Tyler's answer to the lawsuit and spoke with Rolling Stone. Quote, I got the immunity response and I thought, this is fucking insane, says Susan Crewmiller, who frequently litigates sexual misconduct claims as the founding attorney of Crewmiller PC. Quote, there is no such thing as immunity to a caregiver or guardian for sex abuse. I don't have the words to describe how crazy this is. That's from a female attorney who deals in these things. It's insane. It's insane. This guy is a total douche with his hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. And this is the defense he comes up with. Whether or not Tyler and his team intended for the immunity claim to specifically insinuate that his position as a defendant protects him from sexual misconduct isn't clear. Oh, it's clear. It was clear to me. An attorney for Tyler did not respond to requests for comment. No shit. No shit. Dave Phillips, King of the 45s, just popped into the live stream. It's just me tonight, buddy. No boys, just me. Let me see. Dave Ring, a Los Angeles attorney who often represents children and adults in sexual misconduct cases, noted that the immunity claim itself is baffling. But he notes that a defendant giving wide-ranging defensive responses is common at the beginning of a civil suit, particularly when they are establishing their case. Yeah, it's a throw it at the wall and see if it sticks type situation. But you have to do that within reason. Like, you have to do this with a logical approach. And I don't think I'm wrong here. I mean, if I'm sitting across the table from my attorney and they say, okay, she failed to try to mitigate this before it went to trial. Okay, before she filed the suit. In other words, she didn't come to us and say, hey, let's work this out. So maybe that's an option that she didn't want to take. Then there's well, it took her too long, maybe. Why is she doing it now? Okay, I'd sit across the table and say, yeah, that's fine. Okay, now this is what we're going to do. We're going to say, you were her guardian, so you have, you're safe. You're protected. We're going to say that you can't file a lawsuit against your guardian, however they worded it. I'd say, I don't think that works. I think that's going to make me look bad. Saying that, she can't sue me. I have immunity. I have immunity from that sexual assault. Yeah, because I was her guardian. Yeah, that makes sense. I would probably look at my lawyer and tell him, shut the fuck up. Something else. Give me something else. But no, this dude, evidently he's either not involved because he doesn't care, and he thinks, I don't care, I'm Steven Tyler. Which is how a lot of these people think, by the way. No, I'm Steven Tyler. I don't care. You handle it, my attorney. I'm paying you. I got you on retainer. I'm giving you like, I don't know, $5 million a year. Be my lawyer. However it goes. Just say whatever you want. Wrong. Crewmiller, who we referenced earlier in the article, similarly acknowledges this, but she describes Tyler's response as, quote, particularly egregious. Okay? That's kind of what I was just saying, given the way the answers could be interpreted. Quote, it's very sloppy and lazy to just set out this laundry list of boilerplate defenses, so many of which very clearly do not apply. She says, quote, I think if the plaintiff wanted to file a motion to dismiss these defenses, they would win. So in other words, if this girl just decided, hey, her attorney says, Your Honor, I request you throw those defenses out. More than likely, judge is going to say, good point. Yeah, those defenses are dismissed. So, quote, the original complaint includes 3 claims: sexual battery, assault and emotional distress. Let me say that again. The original complaint includes 3 claims: sexual battery, assault, and emotional distress. Crewmiller continues, quote, you don't have to tie which facts correspond to which claims very cleanly. You could argue immunity could apply to intentional emotional distress. But even with that claim, there's no immunity. There's no legal basis. I'm baffled. So the only one that they would have a chance with saying that I'm her guardian would be intentional emotional distress. But you can't even use that because, again, there's no legal basis. If that was the case, holy shit, I would have filed 110 lawsuits on my mother when I was a teenager. She whooped my ass. I'm suing you for emotional distress. Ma, take that. Ma. She'd hit me again. Hold on one second. She'd crack me again. Yep. Irish Catholic mother raising 3 boys all in a row. She did what she had to do. And emotional distress was one of her weapons. Ma, I fell and cut my knee. Tough shit. She loved those 2 words. Tough shit. Be a boy. All right, Ma. All right. Emotional distress. I'm moving on. Catherine Atkinson, an attorney who specializes in discrimination and sexual misconduct, also says she's, quote, mystified by Tyler's response. She cited California's civil code, which specifically states that consent cannot be a defense in a civil action if the person who committed the alleged sexual battery is, quote, an adult who is in a position of authority over the minor. This code lists caretakers among those with authority over minors. So let me read that again. Catherine Atkinson, an attorney who specializes in discrimination and sexual misconduct, also says that she was, quote, mystified by Tyler's response. She cited California Civil Code, which specifically states that consent cannot be a defense. Consent cannot be a defense in a civil action. In other words, she consented to the sex. Nope. If the person who committed the alleged sexual battery is, quote, an adult who is in a position of authority over the minor, which is what he was. Code lists caretakers, which is what he was among those with authority over minors. Said, quote, I would describe the response as irregular, particularly in California, where the law explicitly provides the opposite claim. Why would you ever say that being a guardian is a defense when you have this unique law? When you have this unique law that says you're a position of authority which blocks consent? If anything, I'd be arguing the opposite, that even though she was a minor, he was in no position of authority, so she could consent. I don't know why they're arguing this. Yeah. Better off saying he wasn't in charge of her. So the article goes on. The immunity claim understandably draws the most attention, but in some ways it detracts from the more core issue Tyler argues about regarding consent. That claim is a bit murkier with room for interpretation, but it's still unstable, Ring says. States have different ages for what constitutes the age of consent, but Oregon, where Misley lived when she met Tyler, and California, where she filed the suit, both establish the age of consent as 18. And as Ring notes, taking Misley across state lines turns this into a federal question. And the federal age of consent is also 18. Even if they engaged in sexual acts in a state where that was legal, that complicates any claim he'd have to say it was consensual, he says. Quote, if he truly admitted in the book that he knew she was 16 and intentionally took her to a state where the law was 16, he's still in deep trouble, Ring says. That's basically trafficking a minor across state lines to have sex with her. Again, I have to say it like that so YouTube doesn't kill me with the algorithm. There's a little gray area, but bottom line, he's going to have a difficult time arguing this is consensual, if anything, in a place where the age of consent is 18. Misley's attorneys issued a scathing criticism of Tyler's claims last week, calling the response gaslighting. Quote, never have we encountered a legal defense as obnoxious and potentially dangerous as the one that Tyler and his lawyers launched this week, attorney Jeff Anderson said in a statement. While Tyler said in his response that Misley's claims were past the statute of limitations, in case you were wondering, that was my input then, she was allowed to file the suit as part of California's Child Victims Act, which passed in 2019 and gave alleged survivors a 3-year look-back window to file civil suits regardless of the statute of limitations. Atkinson herself lauded the legislation and said she hopes more states follow suit with similar rulings of their own. Quote, I think it's doing an extraordinary job at discouraging bad behavior, she says. I think that a lot of folks got away with or thought they had gotten away with bad behavior. What we're seeing now, it's the kind of thing that I didn't expect to see in my lifetime. I grew up with all of these folks. We thought of it for years as this is what you get when you're a rock star. This is one of the perks. You get young girls following you around. It's extraordinary how far we have come. I have to agree with her. I have to agree. It's so, again, this all boils down to this piece of crap, Steven Tyler, getting all braggadocious, all cocky and confident, thinking no one can touch him, worth, like I said, hundreds of millions of dollars. He's a rock icon. Everybody loves Steven Tyler. So he thinks, you know what? I'll say whatever I want. I don't care. So he says it. He admits it in his memoirs. It's in writing. It's quoted, exact quote of what he said. And he thought he was going to get away with that. He thought he was going to get away with that. Which is, again, this is what he wrote. These were his words. She was 16, she knew how to nasty, and there wasn't a hair on it. If that isn't cringe to you, then you might have a problem. I love you as a listener, as a viewer, but if that quote right there doesn't make you cringe, then you might have a problem. Seek counseling fast. Oh. Yeah, so that's the Steven Tyler article. Good Lord. See, I'll do one more. 45 minutes in. This is actually a two-parter. This is pretty funny, actually. This is pretty funny. This is part one of the article. Let's see. So it's from let me see. It's last month, Pop Culture and Media website. Yeah, my friend April Bernard, I love April. She says, eek, heavy, eek. That's one way to put it. That's one way to put it. Heavy, eek. All right, so this is from Pop Culture and Media website, the Pop Culture Media website. Again, this is another one from last month. But a lot of these articles I'm going to read on my new podcast they can be older articles, but I make sure they're not so much dated articles where we might have already know the outcome. So hold on. I keep having to hit my cough button. So this one is a little lighter than the last one. Doesn't involve any pedo stuff. Yeah. So Diddy, who we all know as Puff Daddy, Sean Puffy Combs, no matter what you say about the guy, how you feel about the guy, what you think about the guy's fucking brilliant. He was an innovator in the hip-hop industry, and he's a media mogul. And he also, I think he owns Ciroc, that's a vodka, and the guy is straight up business. I mean, there's no flies on Diddy. But the headline in this article is, Diddy still pays Sting $5,000 a day for sampling his hit song, Every Breath You Take, 26 years ago. Right? So, I don't know, maybe most of you don't listen to hip hop, but after the Notorious B.I.G. was murdered, him and Puffy were they were thick as thieves. They were like brothers. And so Puff Daddy, Diddy, he came out with this song, I'll Be Missing You, as a tribute. And he was with Faith Evans, who was Biggie's girlfriend or wife. And they sampled Every Breath You Take. It was a hit on the radio. Even if you didn't like it, you probably heard it because it was everywhere. So the article starts off, Sean Diddy Combs is still paying the price for sampling the Police's Every Breath You Take, and it's not cheap. The mogul, who sampled the smash hit for his 1997 I'll Be Missing You tribute to the late, and I will say great and legendary and iconic Notorious B.I.G., tweeted this week that he's still paying Police frontman Sting $5,000 in royalties each and every day. Diddy made the revelation after a 2018 clip from The Breakfast Club, which is it's a radio show. I think it's in New York, was recirculated on Twitter, in which Sting said that the rapper was paying him $2,000 every day for the rest of his life for using the song. Nope, Diddy wrote in a quote tweet of the video, $5K a day. Love to my brother at official Sting. So Sting says he's paying me $2. He's like, nah, I'm paying you $5. Five G's, $5K a day. It's not the first time that the payment deal between the two artists has made headlines. In 2003, Sting told Rolling Stone that when Elton John heard I'll Be Missing You, he told him, "You're going to be a millionaire." Well, Sting was already a millionaire, but many times over. Quote, "I'll put a couple of my kids through college with the proceeds," Sting said at the time, "and me and Diddy are good pals still." Even if Diddy was writing a $5,000 check 365 times a year for a total of $1.8 million, $1,825,000 annually, it's unlikely that it's hurting his wallet too much. Oh yeah, dude's no joke. Forbes estimated that he earned $90 million. This is Diddy. He earned $90 million in 2022 alone, thanks in part to his partnership, there you go, with Ciroc Vodka. And in 2019, pegged his net worth at $740 million. Yeah. So Diddy ain't no joke. Can hate all he want. Hate the game, don't hate the player. But then, let's see. Go back to notes. It's a part 2 to this. And I'll wrap this up. Let me see where it is. Here we go. Part 2. This is from Billboard magazine, from their website. Let me clear up this page. Hit the X, right? Diddy says he was joking about Sting charging him $5,000 a day for I'll Be Missing You with the sample. And then there's a picture of those two at some awards ceremony, and Sting got his arm around Diddy with his hand on on Diddy's chest, and they're both smiling. So I guess the joke was on us, because he says the duo, quote, have been friends for a long time. The article starts off just 2 days after Diddy tweeted that he pays Sting a hefty $5,000 a day for using a sample of the Police's classic track, Every Breath You Take. The mogul clarified it was all jokes. So I love when the media gets sucked down into the ground like that, don't you? Yeah. Yeah. I love that. They got sucked in, and these two played them. I want y'all to understand I was joking. It's called being facetious. Diddy tweeted on Friday, April 7th. Me and @official Sting have been friends for a long time. He never charged me $3,000 or $5,000 a day for Missing You. He probably makes more than $5,000 a day from one of the biggest songs in history. Alone. Diddy's original tweet came in response to a resurfaced clip of a 2018 interview Sting did with the Breakfast Club, in which which the legend confirmed that the rapper pays him daily for reportedly not getting permission before sampling the hit on his 1997 track, I'll Be Missing You. Is it true Diddy had to pay you $2,000 a day because he didn't have permission to sample Every Breath You Take? Host Charlemagne the God asked in the clip. Sting agreed and also emphasized for the rest of his life. He also confirmed that Diddy did later get clearance for the sample. He paid for that, that's for sure. But that's okay. Guy's worth almost $1 billion. And that song made a lot of money for both of them. In his response, Diddy corrected the duo and noted that he actually pays $5,000, not $2,000. Love to my brother, he wrote in the tweet. The rapper's hit, I'll Be Missing You, was written to honor his friend Notorious B.I.G. after the rapper was fatally shot in March 1997. The song, a collab with Faith Evans and featuring 112, debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on June 14th, 1997, and stayed atop the charts for 11 weeks. It remained on the all genre tally for a total of 33 weeks. There you go. That's the rest of the story. I got a bunch of articles here. Like I said, I'm going to start another podcast aside from Milk Crates and Turntables, which I love doing. And it's going to be this type of podcast. Quick. I won't do multiple articles unless they're short ones. I'm going to try to keep it under a half hour. So, you know what? Let me do one more. I'm having fun. What the hell? So this one has to do, so we had Ace Frehley and Paul Stanley earlier. Then we had the cringy and creepy Steven Tyler article. As my friend Phil Kelly would say. Then we had Diddy and Sting. Now we got Sammy Hagar and David Lee Roth. This is the last article of the night. All right, let's see what this one is. Let's see. So this is from National Music Odyssey, the Odyssey website. The headline reads, Sammy Hagar issues an ultimate David Lee Roth slam. I care about my voice than I do my, I guess. It's his penis, I guess. I don't know. So Hagar says, the guy sang so bad last time he was doing live shows, it was embarrassing. So the article begins. The battle is still a brewing between former Van Halen frontmen Sammy Red Rocker Hagar and Diamond David Lee Roth, with the latest salvo fired from Camp Cabo while talking music and much more with Steve-O on his Wild Ride podcast. See the competition I have? I got like these mega stars that have built-in money for podcasting. But I just grind along because I love it. I don't care about the money and the fame. I got my fans, my cult following, as I say. Okay. Getting into the famous rivalry between former Van Halen singers Roth and Hagar, the latter revealed to Steve-O his thoughts about the duo's shared duties fronting the band while touring in 2002. Quote, at the time, David Lee Roth didn't have a solo career. Really, I mean, he did, but he wasn't selling out, says Hagar. I was selling out arenas. I was selling out amphitheaters as Sammy Hagar with the Wabos, and I had a solo career. Roth didn't. Evoking rock royalty, Hagar adds, ask the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger, ask Led Zeppelin's Robert Plant. You can be the biggest band in the world, and you can't necessarily have a solo career. But I had a solo career. So when I joined the big band, I went back to my solo career. I'm good. I still sell a lot of tickets. Dave, he had that sort of a big album, one kind of a big album, but he didn't have a solo career. When he came in with me, Sammy continues, he was making like 25 grand a night. I was making 150 grand a night. And they said, oh, you guys are going to make the same money. Dave gets to make 150. I said, he ain't fucking making 150 in his life except in Van Halen. But I said, I got to do this. So I bent over backwards, and he still always tries to fuck with the rules. He's not a fun guy. He doesn't play well with others. I'm not sure what his problem is. He just always is about, quote, how can I make this guy look bad? And not just me in life. He's a chest-beating motherfucker. God bless him because the early stuff is freaking great. I tried to say he'd be a fun guy to know, but he ain't like that. He ain't like his persona. When you get around him, he ain't that guy. He's some other cat. He's a showman. Hey, listen, I'm a showman too. But that's his gig. He doesn't care about singing. If he did, he'd take care of his voice, or he would take voice lessons and get warmed up and do something. Because the guy sang so bad last time he was doing shows, it was embarrassing. But he's a showman. Everything show. And he doesn't care about his voice, which drives me nuts, man. I care more about my voice than I do my dick. If my dick didn't work a couple of times, I'd be okay with it. I'd be bummed out. But if my voice fucks up on stage, I'm fucking bummed, man. Listen to the full conversation on that. So there you go. Let's see. Perry Dedovich says, Dave smoked a lot of cigarettes, maybe still. Sammy, I would guess not. Yeah. My friend April says, Roth never sang his entire career. He's always been talking loudly. So afraid of aging. He's just, his mind is mush. Yeah. I mean, if you've seen videos of David Lee Roth lately in the last, I don't know, a few years, he gets on stage and he does this like fucking vaudeville act. Like the way he dances and the way he moves around the stage. It's kind of creepy. To me, it's pathetic. Like there's certain people that should just go away and go out while you're on top. He was one of them, but he's got the short hair. Last time I see, there's a picture of him somewhere. You can Google David Lee Roth, and I'm sure the picture is there. And he's doing an interview, and he's in like a studio, radio studio, and it's like missing his bottom tooth, and fucking weird. And the dude just, if you hear him talk, it's like, all right, man. You didn't talk this much in the 80s. He's talking way too much now. I don't know. Just not a fan anymore. I like the old Dave. It's new Dave. And I still, the best quote I ever heard about David Lee Roth, Van Halen had got back together with him, their first reunion tour. What was that? I don't know, like 7 years, 8 years, 9 years ago, whatever it was. And my friends, Jim Hurley and Bill Kelly, often mentioned on the show, they went to see them. And so I called Phil the next day, and I want to get a review of the show. I think they might have saw him at the Worcester Centrum, maybe. And, he said, Eddie Van Halen was, he was Eddie. And I said, how did David Lee Roth look? How did he do? And he said, David Lee Roth is like Dolly Parton's shoes. I said, what do you mean, Dolly Parton's shoes? He says, yeah. Does anyone ever look at Dolly Parton's shoes? Who looks at Dolly Parton's shoes? One of the best. That summed up everything. That summed it all up. David Lee Roth is like Dolly Parton's shoes. Take that one. I'm going to end the show on that. There you go. I punched out an hour. I read some articles. It was fun. Pop-up show. And like I always say, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you liked it, share it. Tell a friend. If you didn't like it, thanks for listening this long. And you are the engine that runs this machine. Without you, I'd be talking to nobody. And I'd still have fun doing this. That's all there is to it. I'd still have fun doing this. I love my cult following. I love I get these little messages every once in a while. Good show. I introduced this to my friend. He loved the show. And that's the stuff I look for. I don't look, me and Jack had this argument. I spoke on this, I think, last episode or 2 episodes ago. I could have 10,000 downloads an episode, and I could have hundreds of viewers or thousands of viewers, and I'd still be just as happy as I am right now with, like I said, just this little cult following, this little group that likes the podcast, and they like listening to it, and they introduce it to their friends, and it just grows organically, right? Isn't that a better way to just kind of get things done rather than making it a hustle and bustle? And I don't want to chase it, because if I start chasing it, I'm not going to like it. If I don't like it, then this 103 episodes become nothing, right? And next week will be 104th episode, and I'm just going to keep going. and I'm going to start my new podcast because this is what I do. I entertain you, I think. If not, like I said, thanks for listening this long. And to quote my favorite artist, Morrissey, doing the show for you, well, the pleasure, the privilege is mine. And I'll be back next week with Mark Smith, Lou Colicchio from the Music Relish podcast, and maybe Jack, maybe not. We shall see. But thanks for hanging around. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And I'm heading off to St. Augustine for the weekend, Memorial Day weekend, our favorite place. It's a great place. If you've ever been there, if you haven't, you got to go. All right.